Well, welcome to a 2001 Sequoia starter replacement. One thing you're going to need to have, your Haynes repair manual. I went online, and while it shows a bunch of ways to get to the starter, no one actually shows the actual process. You read the manual. What you have to do is you have to run the car. Over here is your circuit box. You're going to have to, at one point, you're going to have to go ahead and remove the electronic fuel and run it till the car stops. The reason you do that is because you have to remove your fuel rails and your fuel injectors in order to get to the starter. Toyota did a great job of hiding this thing in the most terrible place possible. No normal garage wrencher could do it. Luckily, I've done a bunch of good stuff, and I'm going to attempt to take this whole thing apart. Also, you've got to empty out your coolant, because there is coolant running in through your throttle body. You don't want that running. Just empty it out in something, and you can put it right back in. Don't worry about that. The main point is getting the pressure off your fuel. You've got to take your cap off your gas. Then you've got to remove the fuses that actually run the fuel injection pump so that you can actually run that pressure dry. It removes all pressure. Then we're going to take off the entire intake, the throttle body, and then we're going to start removing the items around as per the Haynes manual. Now what I'm going to do, since I already have an entire video on all this in the throttle body, there's no reason for me to show you that. So I'm going to take all this off. Look at my video for the throttle body for that. Once I get all this off, I'll come back. I'll show you the video on how I'm going to take this off. I've seen it done in one piece. I've seen it done in two pieces. I've got the gasket for both the upper and the lower intake. I figure I'm here. I got the wrench. I got the gaskets. It's got 200,000 miles on the engine. I'm going to replace the gaskets. Then when I get down in, the toughest thing from my understanding is getting all the way behind here to get to those bolts on the starter motor to replace it. It's a pain in the ass, but someone's got to do it, and I'm not paying the dealership $1,000. So when you see me next, you'll see me actually working on the intake manifold. Good luck to those who are trying. This is the only video I know that's out there for this. All right, ladies and gents, so here we are. So I've got the throttle body off. I'm going to start taking off all these other pieces, and you're going to see them all. But what you're going to see is I'm going to label them and tell exactly what they are. So as I take that off the top of the manifold, as I take this whole throttle off, I'm only going to take those two bolts off. I'm not going to do the throttle. I don't want that out of position. When I put it back, I've got some electronic connections. All this is going to be labeled as I take it off. I've drained quite a bit of the coolant so that way I don't have any coolant problems or invasions. This front part here does not need to come off. You can see it's not connected to the intake manifold. If Toyota was smart, they would have made an upper part that was one piece, and then two rails over here, and then you could just take that upper piece off, and then get to the starter. But they're not smart, and they did this really hard, and so this whole thing's going to be out. All these bolts are going to come out. All the rails are going to come out. All of the fuel injector connections are going to have to come out. I believe the fuel injectors have to come out as well. You're going to have to slowly and methodically take this apart. The rail will remain when you're done. The rail will remain when you're done, but the rest will come apart. Now, you can take this off in one piece and not separate it, but since I had to pay $65 for the gasket, damn it, I'm going to separate it and clean the bitch out. It's had 200,000 miles. It's probably got dirt and all sorts of crap in there, as you can see. Might as well go ahead and give it a good clean, let it run well. All right, so I'm going to take pictures as I go if there's things to go, but to put this on video would probably take hours. So I'll take pictures if there's anything remarkable. Other than that, you can see what you need to do. Bolt, 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 bolt. All these connector wires, bolt, 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 right? They all come out around. It's really not that hard. Just get down and get to it. If I run across something that's hard, I'll video it. If I don't find it's hard, it'll just be a picture as I go. Here we go. All right, so what we've done a little work here. Everything's off the manifold, right? What I have to do now is I have to take all these wires off. So this whole entire wiring harness has to come out. So I've labeled all these from 1, 2, let me see a little better, 2, 3, 4, and I did it with some white out, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. Not firing order, but just the way I'm going to put them back in. And when I put them back in, I'm also going to label down here. You can see in here are for the fuel injectors. I'm going to label those 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on the other side 5, 6, 7, 8. That way this whole entire harness is going to come out of the way, and be out of the way. So everything will be disconnected and out of the way. So getting these dang fuel things out was really hard, but there's a little piece right here you have to press down on, see it? Right at the bottom there, I'm gonna get in closer. Just push on that bottom part. So I just took a pliers and pushed in, see it just squeezes in. That bottom part squeezes in and the whole thing pulls off. Just be careful, put a pliers across it, squeeze that bottom part right there. See it right there? Squeeze that in, they pull off. And so they'll all come out. You see I pulled them all out? Right? And now I'm gonna number them just like I numbered out here. Right? I may not have to take this off out here, but I need to get this whole wiring harness out of the way in order to do it. All right, so you have two size bolts on this entire upper part of the intake manifold. There's a large one and there's a small one. All right, so I'm going to go in close. You can see some of these are gunked really bad. As a matter of fact, when you look at the intakes, some of these look horrendous. Look at that. So I will be cleaning all these out, and I don't know why I have gasoline residue sitting there. That's just a little bit ridiculous. But we'll be taking care of it. Obviously, there's no way to get in between the manifold to get underneath, so now I'm going to take off this whole entire thing. Obviously, the bolts all came out. The manifold came off. Right? Entire manifold's off. Alright, moving to the next step. Alright, so I've cleaned off the upper part, cleaned it all out. So you can see, I'm going to go a closer view so you can see that each one of these, and I'll even walk it out into the sunlight so you can see a little better, each one of these has been cleaned out. Guys. Alright guys, what I've done is I've taken like a 1x2 and that's how I put my light across to hold everything on. But you're going to see right here what I've used. I've used this piece here, and I'm going to get a closer view. Okay, just so you can see it. To get those bolts out, I had to use a couple of connectors in order to get to that size, but that's what I've used. And basically it slides down in and takes those bolts out because it's got a star pattern. I can't get a socket around it because of the fuel rail, and I'm not going to take the fuel rail out. So 1, 2, 3 of those, I'm getting those out. You have to slowly, I used a breaker bar, which makes it real easy to do. And I think you could just do it with a 1/2 inch, which is what I've got using here. But that's how you get these screws out. Next thing you know, I'm going to pop that off. Alright boys and girls, this is the moment of truth. Hopefully this thing will lift out. It should. There it is. There it is. With all the injectors and everything on it. I got some cleaning to do. You can see the bottom of the injectors. Look how nasty that is. That's nasty as shit. So I'll be cleaning that off. So folks, this is why we're here. That stupid little starter sitting right there. Un-effing believable. Un-effing believable that they put it there. I still have to get behind this rail in order to get to the bolts. There's 2 bolts behind there. I'm not really sure I'm going to do that, but I'll figure it out and I'll show you. But there's the starter. It's going to come out. Oh, look, there's a bolt that fell. And I told you, if the bolts fall, it's okay. But look how dirty that is after, I'm going to get close up. 200,000 miles. Amazing. All right, more when I get the starter out. So I recommend you vacuum everything out. I just did it. But when I took off this gasket, it was pieces everywhere. You can see the dirt that's inside there. You got to make sure you vacuum all this out. Get the pieces out that you need to get out before you start moving stuff. You do not want, get a close look in here, you do not want stuff falling into your valve. So I was able to slip my 14mm back in here over the 1 bolt and get it off. Now I'm going to get my fingers back there and try to get it off. We'll see if I can get to the other bolt 2 bolts hold this on. Here's all your stuff. I'll be right in a second. Alright, boys and girls, so here it is, it's out. I had this plastic container thing, which was really a pain in the ass to get this out. Finally, that bolt came off of here. All of these came off. They really didn't have to come off, but they did. You can see them. The bolts I got around from the back. I used a 14 millimeter for the one bolt, and I got it in here like this. The other bolt I went behind, and I actually used a quarter inch drive, and then I put this over the end of it and got it loose. But this little plastic piece of shit right here is the ginormous freaking pain in the butt. What it's done is it just limits me to where my cords are. And I had to break the actual end piece here in order to get that bolt out because it was such a mess. So I'm going to slide the new one in. Well, I can tell you right now, the old one's a problem. I'm going to go in close. You can see the teeth are worn. I was getting that sound from the worn teeth, and there's metal pieces all over it. And you can look at the new teeth on the new one, and they look flatter on the edges. So every time this one started up, went whee, whee, because it just wasn't catching right. So 200,000 miles, thank you Toyota. So here we are putting it back together. I used a 14 millimeter in the back, and I got it through here. Bam. I'm right on it. See? Right on it. Alright. Now I'm using the 1/4 inch drive back here, and I'm right on it as well. I gotta towel up here, but basically you can hear it. And I'm way behind there. I have to feed it in with my fingers to get it. And that's gonna get this whole starter back on. Then we're gonna put on some top parts. Alright, I'm gonna tighten this down, we're ready to go. So what I'm doing is, I'm using a magnet. And when I drop the bolt in there, I'm pushing it off with the screwdriver. Also for the nuts, I tape them on a little bit so they don't fall on the end of my ratchet and put them on. A little bit of tape comes off. Most of it's on the actual socket, so just a little bit holding the nut so I can get these 4 corners without it falling away. Alright guys, so here we are once again. I've got the gasket in. You can see it on top. Real important you lay it in the right way. It can only go in one way, so you should be alright. I've got the piece here. Alright. Basically completely cleaned out. This thing is going to run 10 times better when it's done here. Slide it over on top. Find your spots. Now it's on.